Chapter 11, Suppressed Arising. Putting the past behind and leaving it at the foot of the cross, it was easier to dream again. New ideas, new partnerships, and new options. We received verbal commitment from the assistant pastor the previous summer that our new church fellowship would send us again if the Lord was calling us to return overseas. One of the reasons why we had selected to attend this fellowship during our time of healing. With this in mind and much of the healing process behind us, Chad and I developed a new vision with our national partners from the field, created an official proposal, and met with the assistant pastor in April. We communicated we were ready to discuss our family's return to the field with the understanding they would become our sending church. We handed him a copy of our proposal. The next day, we emailed our official mission proposal to him, of which he had promised to forward on to the elders. We waited several weeks in May with no response or acknowledgement of receipt from the church elders. Weeks went by and the silence became not only deafening but also discouraging. Chad had simultaneously applied and been accepted to teach at the International Christian School. The school was waiting to hear back from us about coming before the start of the next school year. Setting up our household would have been easy, requiring only a single day shift to its destination. Over the course of the next few months, we continued meeting with the assistant pastor with hard copies of information and emailed 2 more letters of intent, of which he promised to forward to the elders. Chad reached out to one of his elder friends in June and was surprised to learn he had never seen any letter regarding our family. As time slipped by, our window of opportunity to shift back to the field before the coming school year became out of reach. Summer plans filled in with family, and we were booked. Chad and I made a final determination in July that our mission must have a dead end if there's no sending church. We arranged one final trip to the field for August to visit our friends and handle our household that had been in storage before the start of our school year in the States. 2.5 years has elapsed since our evacuation. Uncertain what it would feel like to return to this particular field, we were surprised with how it seemed like yesterday since we'd been there. It was almost like we never left. Culture wasn't shocking, and it wasn't long before we had our vehicle and were driving all over town, shifting our furniture and boxes from the warehouse to our friend's home in order to sort, pack, donate, and disperse belongings. However, our friends were only able to accept half the furniture because their flat was smaller than our previous one. This left the other half of our household still in storage. We shared many laughs and wonderful meals together that week. We helped them set up their new ministry house and transferred furniture, supplies, and vehicle for their use. We kept in discussion a continued partnership with these humble and sweet yet spunky national partners. We met the international school principal and toured their new campus. This trip was largely healing for me and provided hope for a new future despite the ashes of the first partnership we had on that particular field. When we arrived home, we attended our new church the next Sunday morning. An elder opened the service in prayer. The entire church proceeded to pray for another couple who was currently on a short-term mission trip in a neighboring Asian country to our field. I was saddened because I knew the church had not corporately prayed for us on Sunday morning while we were in Asia the previous week. Even though we had submitted a written request, they do so. I sat looking around the church body, knowing these people had no clue we had just been around the world and back on a short-term mission trip. We met with the associate pastor again to debrief our trip. It was in this meeting that we continued to share our vision and handed him a fourth printout explaining the different pieces. I again asked if the mission department team and the elders could please be praying about sending us. Surprisingly, the associate pastor said, "We don't like it when people come into the church with their vision and try to manipulate the pastors into following their wishes." His comment startled me. I had to process his statement later because it really rubbed me the wrong way. I actually felt we were the ones being manipulated to attend this fellowship in the first place with his promise to send us the previous summer, and then no corresponding follow-through when we communicated it was time. I met with the head pastor's wife to share my frustration over the associate pastor's comment, and her response was we had to, quote, earn the right to be sent by this church. I told her Chad had met with the associate pastor a year prior, in which he verbally committed to sending our family once we were healed. She replied, he had no right to say that. We had also been under the teaching of her husband, the head pastor, at our original home church for about 12 years, serving faithfully in a variety of ministry departments. I mentioned our lengthy track record at their previous church. She said, "None of that counts for anything, and you have to prove yourselves at this new church plant." I then wondered how the women's ministry director got her position at the new church plant if she had no track record to lean on from their former church. She had been a leader in women's ministry there for many years. Did that count for something when they selected her? I felt it was a double standard. I shared we felt the Lord directing our family into missions and serving in the mission department. Chad had been volunteering his time by attending every single mission commission meeting and then working at home to help create their founding documents. I explained this is why I turned down a role in their women's ministry, and she said, "Wrong answer." I continued to share our vision of inviting our Asian friends, our new national partners, to the church to present their ministry and raise support, and she said, "On whose authority are you bringing these people into our church?" I replied, "If Chad and I are partnering with them." She shook her head in firm disapproval. She challenged me by asking who we were in relationship with at the church, and I said there were so many people there from our former church that we've known for many years. There were also other families who had known Chad through his music educator role in our community. This did not satisfy her. Finally, she said, "You know I'm for you, right?" Feeling completely shut down, I left that meeting and went home. I had to process yet again the church leadership that was presenting itself to our family. Not one pastor or elder of the church had met with us to discuss our mission experience or pray over us, even after we had sent them a letter early on communicating our hurt over what transpired and our purpose to heal within their community. They were having the opposite effect on us and perpetuating the pattern of feelings of neglect and rejection. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a reasonable expectation from someone with the title pastor is that they are pastoral in nature. I then thought about the activities of this particular church and its elders. Why hadn't any of the elders responded to our communications? Chad asked an elder friend if he'd seen our letters, and the answer was no. If they were too busy to meet with us, what had been their recent focus? Over the last 3 to 4 months, this church body received almost weekly updates on the sale and purchase of the neighboring 1/3 acre. This church wanted to buy it in order to expand their parking lot. Earlier, the church poured money into new chairs, technology, light fixtures, and paint. There is also an architectural plan for an addition to the building. Given 4 months and 4 letters with no response from the elders, their priority of remodeling the building and expanding their parking lot, and being shut down by the head pastor's wife at every turn, we determined the Lord had closed that door as well. We sent a letter to the pastor we had been meeting with to communicate our departure. He called Chad and asked why leaving would help us. He was meant to shepherd us. We thought to ourselves, over the course of the last year, how had we been shepherded?